Hi, my name is Sam Morgan, and this is going to be part 2 of a tutorial series where I show you how to solve an advanced algorithm on FreeCodeCamp. So in our last video, we got up and running with FreeCodeCamp. We introduced the problem we're going to be solving, as well as the techniques we are going to be using to solve this specific problem. In this video, we're going to be getting a couple easy wins under our belt by writing some helper functions that are going to make things easier inside the meat of our main algorithm later. The first function we're going to write is going to take a sequence of letters, and it's going to detect if we have consecutive repeats in that string. The second function we're going to write is going to take a sequence of letters and swap two characters within that string for the sake of generating multiple permutations. So I'm going to kick things off by coming up here, and I'm going to create a new function. We can call this something like getString with swap chars. Perfect. There are going to be a couple of arguments that this function is going to take. The first is the string. The second is the first index we're going to be swapping, so we can just call this swap index 1, and the second index we are going to swap index 2. The next thing we want to do is take our string and convert it into an array, so that we can more easily swap indices or letters inside of it. So I'm going to say const toArray, and we're going to say string.split, passing in some single quotes. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the string.split method, I will show you where that lives on the internet. I'm going to go over to Google, and I'm going to say JS string.split. I'm all over the place today with my spelling. I'm going to come over here to this link at developer.mozilla.org, string.prototype.split. If I scroll down, you can see we have some examples right here. And if we hit run, we have multiple logs right here. We have 1, 2, 3 different console.log statements. And right here, they're taking this string, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, and they're splitting it into words by passing in a space. So what they're basically saying is take this sentence and split it at every space, resulting in an array of different words. In this case, we are getting the fourth word in the array 0, 1, 2, 3, which is fox, and it's outputting right here and in the console down below. Now down here they're doing something a little bit different. There is no space in here. It's just an empty string. And what this does is it splits the sentence out into individual characters. So you can see we're getting chars of 8. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is the letter K. For the sake of what we're doing, this is exactly what we want. We want to take a string and split it into multiple characters so that we can swap them in place and return it. All right, I just wanted to show you where this documentation lives on the internet in case you were curious about learning more. I'm going to go ahead and close this and come back over to FreeCodeCamp. Now, I can see above that there is a convention that I neglected to follow. For our swap index 1 and 2, this should be camel cased. Well, I'm just going to uppercase the I there. And below, what I'm going to do is write the code that is going to be responsible for swapping characters inside of our array here. So what I'm going to do is create a new variable called temp, and I'm just going to set this to array, so our array, and we're just going to pass in swap index of 1. So this is the good first step. We have our first array item saved out into a variable called temp. What we want to do next is take toArray swap index 1, and we want to say just set it to array swap index 2. And the last thing we need to do to make this work, we can just copy this line right here, array of swap index 2. We're going to say you are going to be equal to temp. So the original value of array of swap index 1, and below all we need to do now is return toArray.join, passing in an empty string. Now what join does is the opposite of the split method. It takes an array and turns it back into a string, which is what we want for our purposes. Down below we can write some tests just to make sure our function works. Right here I'm going to duplicate the function from up above, just the name, and we can paste it right here. We can pass in some arguments. Maybe I'm in the mood for Italian food today, so I'm going to type in the string pizza. And right here we want to swap index 0 and index 1. And the output we should expect to get is we're swapping the P and the I, so we should expect to get I, P, Z, Z, A. And we can confirm that we're getting that by saying console.log, just wrapping it, console.log, wrap the function call inside. And you can see that's exactly what we get in our console below, I, P, Z, Z, A. Let's try another. I'm going to make another function call below. And this time, instead of pizza, we can type in a related word, maybe calzone. And you can see the same thing happens. The first and second character are being swapped. Now, for the sake of testing, maybe we can change this from 1, change this to 2. You can see in the word calzone, the A and the L are now being swapped right here. We can, just to be organized, maybe make our window a little bit wider. Great, so we have one function out of the way. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. Below, I'm going to make another new function with the function keyword, and we can call this one string has consecutive, oops, didn't spell that right, consecutive repeats. Great. Now in here, the only thing we really need to do to find out if a string has consecutive repeats is look at 2 characters at a time. But before we do that, I forgot an argument up here. We need to pass in our string to our function. Since we need to only be looking at 2 characters at a time, we can use multiple pointers to do that. So I'm going to create a new variable, let pointer A. We're going to set it equal to 0. We're going to say let pointer B be equal to 1. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to make 2 new variables down below, const char at pointer A. We're going to set it equal to our string, bracket syntax passing in pointer A. Same thing with pointer B. Copy and paste. Char at pointer B is string index of pointer B. We can go ahead and console.log char at pointer A and char at pointer B. Char at pointer B. Below, making a call to our function. Copy paste one more time. And in here, we can maybe, I'm just going to use my own name. Feel free to use yours. My name is Sam. So we see pointer A 0. The character at index 0, pointer A, is uppercase S, and the character at pointer B, lowercase a, the very next one. And this is, we're going to loop through our string and basically look at 2 characters at a time. So after SA, The next set of characters is AM, so that would be 1 and 2. Now you can see AM printing in the console down below. So with that explanation out of the way, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to copy these two variables, actually cut them rather, and I'm going to get rid of this console log statement right here. I'm going to reset pointer A to 0, pointer B to 1, and below we want to make a new while loop. And what we want to say is while pointer B is less than string.length, in here we can say pointer A++ increment by 1 and pointer B++ also increment that by 1 each time through the loop, and we can repaste in, I actually got rid of them, we might have to redefine them now, const char at pointer A setting equal to string pointer A, copy that, and once again below, and C command V, char at pointer B, string pointer B. Perfect. Now the only thing we need to check is if at any point during our loop char at pointer A is equal to char at pointer B, we know we have consecutive repeats. So if char at pointer A is strictly equal to char at pointer B, we can just return true. However, if we get to the end of our while loop and this condition is never true, we know that there are no consecutive repeats, so we can return false. Getting rid of some extra space down here. Now we can go ahead and write some test cases for this too. I'm going to cut this function call right here, and I'm going to wrap it in a console log statement. Console.log, string has consecutive repeats, passing in my name, and we see false in the console down here because there are no repeating letters. Let's go ahead and try a few more. Before we do that, I'm going to make a comment right here. It should be false. Copy this down below, paste. Let's try Sam with 2 M's instead of 1. That is now true, just as expected. We have consecutive repeating letters. We can change this comment to true, and we can duplicate this again right down below. Maybe we can use a word we already used up above, pizza, and you can see once again we have true because we have 2 Z's right next to each other. We can do one more. Let's test one that would be false. Maybe another Italian food. I can just write in pasta. That should be false because there are no 2 letters next to each other that are the same. You can just write false. Perfect. Now that is it for this video, and that is it for our helper functions. I will see you in the next video where we start writing the bulk of our algorithm.